number 10, I believe it is. Day number 10, getting this finished up today. Kind of a light workout before the scrimmage tomorrow, trying to bring them out here and get a little bit of good work with the shoulder pads on, and then took the shoulder pads off to get some polish up at the very end, just getting ready for tomorrow's scrimmage. This far into it, it starts to become a little bit more about the offense and the defense and not so much just about the individual. We're still going to evaluate every player, every play for depth chart purposes, but at the same time we got to start to put the offense together and the defense together, and Saturday's scrimmage will be a little bit more like a game. If you don't make a first down, they're off the field. It won't have the play segments like we had in the first one. So this is kind of the second test of 3, as we get into this spring practice. But I've been pleased with a lot of the progress that some positions are making. We talked a little bit about, after the first scrimmage, some of the positions that I felt like still were a little bit behind. And this will be a great opportunity to kind of see how much progress we've made in a week. But they're working hard, and they've been pretty focused and pretty dialed into this point.
Coach, talk a little bit about, you said you've been kind of focusing on certain positions that you feel like you need to figure it out. Obviously, the big one, quarterback for your offense. What are you kind of hoping to see from both of these guys, in the scrimmage tomorrow?
Probably consistency. I mean, that's probably been the thing that's been lacking. They've both had some really good days, and they've both had some really bad days. I mean, obviously, the quarterback position's the hardest one, because if I'm a receiver, I learn to run a curl. If I'm at tackle, I learn to block the end. But I'm at quarterback, I got to know who's hot, who's not being blocked up front, what everybody's running, what the coverage is. I mean, they got to know what 22 guys on the field are. So it takes a little bit longer to develop that position, especially not having anybody with any legitimate experience there. When you look at, you really have very little game experience coming back at that position. So that's probably the biggest thing I'm looking for, is the consistency out of the quarterback. We talked about the receiver play is another one that has really got to pick up, and we're challenging the heck out of those guys to make some plays one-on-one on the perimeter, and I think it's getting better, but we're going to find out how much progress we've made tomorrow, and we put a lot of emphasis on these scrimmages as evaluations.
Talk about those guys on the perimeter. Jadrick DeCluet, or however you say his last name, DeCluet is having a good spring.
He has.
Talk about his ability.
Well, for a guy that hadn't played at all, I mean, he was a guy that, you had a DJ Banks, you got a Paul Turner who's transferring in, you got a couple guys, the Hunter Lee that's played, but he was really a relative unknown. He didn't play much last year, and then to have him come out and to have him really excel as a young player and show some flashes. I won't say excel, to show some flashes that he's really has a great opportunity to make a contribution on this team for this fall.
Defensively, what are you looking to see tomorrow that, from that consistency standpoint, which position stands out to you?
Well, the inexperience of the linebackers in the secondary is just as we talked about with some of the wide receivers. I mean, that's something, the skilled positions on defense. I want to see the consistency out of it, and we need to see where we are. We need to understand that when we give up a post, the whole defense gets hurt. You can have 10 guys doing what they're supposed to do, and one guy give up a deep ball, and the whole defense just gave up 50 yards. We've got to do a better job of keeping the ball in front of us, and that's where tomorrow was about, okay, that one individual gave it up. Now it's going to be the defense gave it up, and that's what tomorrow is a little bit more about, is evaluating where we are as an offense and a defense rather than just individuals.
Last scrimmage, you left the field wanting for a lot more intensity, effort, but you've had 2 solid practices since then. How are you feeling going into tomorrow, and do you think they'll respond in the way that you've kind of been showing them how to respond?
Well, I think it's a standard, that we talked about after scrimmage 1. It's a standard and an expectation level of what we're going to do when we take the field, and the effort and the energy that we're going to play with. And I think they understand what we want a little bit better now than they did after during the first scrimmage, and we'll see where we are. They have had 2 better practices since the scrimmage last Wednesday, and let's see if we can carry it over into the scrimmage tomorrow.
Coach, your offensive line in that first depth chart, really, you mixed and mingled. There was a lot of moving guys around. Talk about why y'all did that, and then how do you think it's turned out?
Well, I mean, the thing, I'm not necessarily looking, okay, he's my starting right guard or he's my starting, but you get into a season and all of a sudden a guard may have to go play tackle. You may get 3 injuries, and a guard has to go play tackle, a guard has to go play center, a tackle has to go play guard. And so we just want to find out now while we're in spring, well, let's move them around and let's see where the best places are for these moving pieces. I think a guy like Jimmy Graffrey has had a great spring. I mean, for a young young man who has not played very much since he's been here. His attitude, his work habits, the way he's bounced back from that Achilles, and just the energy that he's playing with right now. He's not perfect, but I don't think there's anybody that's working any harder out here or giving more effort than he is right now. You can tell how bad he wants it, and he wants to be good. He's putting in the extra time, and as a senior, that's the type of commitment that you're looking for. But we played guard in the first scrimmage, and we wanted to find out and get an evaluation if he can play tackle. And guys like that, it's going to go a long way with their cross training during this spring once we get into the fall.
You lost 4 starters on that unit. How important is it to have an experienced guy like Graffrey step up and play with consistency?
Well, and a 5th one who's not going through spring. With Shepard having the surgery, so he's not going through spring. So really, you don't have anybody with any legitimate game experience on that offensive line right now. And so having seniors like Banks move in into guard from the tackle position, and Graffrey move out to tackle from the guard position, to have Alec doing what he's doing right now at center, and